A day nursery being opened in Durham. The children's centre run by volunteers didn't want a member of the royal family to officially open their building. Oh no, they wanted the captain of Newcastle United, Barry Venison. This baby's mum and dad will cherish the photographs of him on the captain's lap forever. You see, in this part of the world, the footballers are a sort of royal family. Everywhere they go, they are mobbed by fans who cherish their autographs. It's hardly surprising that Steve Howie dreamed of playing football. After all, he was pretty good at it. So was his brother Lee, and both were to become professional footballers. His parents were delighted and have set aside an entire room full of mementos.
Well, this is one of the first ones Stephen wore when he played for St Cuthbert's, and when he grew out of it, the school gave him it for scoring so many goals. He scored 126 goals in one season.
It's always nice to realise your ambition. I think there's a lot of people who have aspirations of being different things when they're at school and never get to fulfil them dreams, and I've been very lucky in doing so.
And that has meant the little boy who once queued for autographs now gets to sign them. It's become something of a heartthrob, but it doesn't bother his fiancée, or at least that's what she says.
You do get a lot of that, all the girl fans, when you go to the match, they're there with autographs, but it doesn't really bother me. I think it's good, it's funny at times, and it doesn't bother me at all.
But Steve is new to the spotlight. For other pros, the pressure can be a bit intense.
It is a pressure. I think the worst time is when you're with your family. That's when it becomes a pressure. But when you're on your own and you're actually at work, it's not a problem then, you know. I mean, we have a lot come to training ground, which it's no problem then. It's just obviously when you're out with a family, with the 2 children, the wife, you know, that's when it becomes a pressure.
Yeah, but otherwise it's just really part of the game, really, isn't
well,
it?
It's something that I wouldn't swap.
Come on, follow the Geordie boys, then fill your heart with joy. They're marching for their freedom now. Come on, follow the Geordie lads, they'll make your heart feel glad. They're saying now, yes, now is the hour.
It's not all an easy ride. Steve and his teammates are treated like thoroughbreds, and if they get overweight, they could be in big trouble.
That's not a problem. Apart from getting ribbed by the other players, the manager might have a little quiet word in the ring, and if they keep on doing it, you know, there might be a little fine coming their way.
They look after us very well. They try and, I mean, people tend to think that we get sort of wrapped in cotton wool, which, to be quite honest, we do. We get very well looked after, and none of the lads complain about that, like.
I bet they don't. The players are closeted before an away game. They're taken to a hotel. Wives and girlfriends are strictly out of bounds. As the lads set off on a 300-mile trip to London, the girls are left at home. Steve's fiancée Angie has been spending her spare time getting the nursery ready for their new baby. She's getting used to losing Steve 3 or 4 nights every fortnight.
When I was first going out with Steve, it's like it was nearly every other weekend, which I wasn't used to. But now, it doesn't bother us at all now. I mean, it's his job, so that's what it has to do, but it doesn't bother us at all now.
It's hardly surprising. He phones every 5 minutes.
He normally calls us after his tea, and then sometimes he normally calls us later on in the night as well, and in the morning before, when he gets up.
Aww. 6 hours later, and the coach is in London. Steve's prepared for a bit of a tedious night. He's brought a big book along with him. For Lee Clarke and Brian Kilcline, there's a last-minute raid to a magazine shop. Steve, meantime, is bored and is on the phone again.
Hi, how are you? How was the travel down?
No, it wasn't bad, actually. It wasn't bad at all. Well, I'm going down for my dinner anyway around about 7 o'clock, so...
But I guess it's all worth it when they win.
Come on, follow the Geordie boys, then fill your heart with joy. say now, yes, now is the hour.
Today we're following three girls who go everywhere to support Newcastle United. They set the alarm for an early call. They're off to see their heroes. I wondered what Mum thought, but she was going too.
Oh, babe, I think we'll be 2-1, so we're not going to make any predictions at this time.
At 6 in the morning, it was time to go. It's absolutely freezing out there because there's been at least 2 feet of snow, and the girls and I are off to London. Nope, not for the shops, not for some fab West End show. We're off to the football. The girls started their trip without me. I wanted to meet the man in their lives, and their black and white dog too. Derek Wallace prefers golf to football, but today his favourite ball game was snowed off. Derek, this really is incredible. I mean, these women, it's a case of love me, love my team.
It is that, yeah. Well, it's been going on for 6 years now. And as you can see, mad keen supporters.
I can't get over this room. Who did this room? Which one is it? Are
Well,
they all in it together?
Well, the mother painted the floor. I came in one day and she had sitting in the middle of the floorboards, painting the floor black and white stripes. Carpet was downstairs. And Kelly does all this. She's the youngest one.
Yeah.
She gets all the photographs. And with Lee's help.
The Wallace girls were on their way, naturally enough discussing football.
I've got to sort of go watch the match, get the build-up of the atmosphere, see all the people that we know from the football match. It's just a really good day out and you've got to be there to support your team. And Newcastle lose, it's so depressing. We're not going to lose to Chelsea. We don't know what's hit them.
And the passengers didn't know what was hitting them either. The Wallaces have a strange ritual. Kelly dons a black and white wig. Andy Cole may be the leading goal scorer, but today wasn't his day.
But I suppose I've got to lose some to understand the winning feeling. Disappointed, tired, but it's really been worthwhile. A lot of people get a big kick out of going out drinking and things like that. I don't. I get my kicks out of watching football.
With another 5 hours ahead of them, it really is a love affair for these three girls. Next week, we'll meet the old pro with a young buck breathing down his neck. How is 31-year-old Brian Kilcline facing up to a future without Newcastle United? There's no greater thrill for a professional footballer than captaining the winning side in an FA Cup final. Brian Kilcline did just that when he was playing for Coventry. Football has taken Brian to Yorkshire, where he's been renovating a cottage. He's still in love with a game that has totally dominated his life.
No, I've played football since I was about 14 or 15. I love the appeal of going out onto a football field, playing football, doing well, and most of all winning. I can't describe what the feeling is of winning. I think the only way I can describe it is finishing this wall, this last stone and sticking it in here. Just accomplishing something at the end of the day. Like that. Planned it.
After leaving Coventry, Brian went to Oldham before moving to Newcastle. At first, it was a marriage made in heaven.
He was my lucky charm, really. Because Brian Kilcline came here and helped us turn this club round. Because he got in amongst the players. He's a very good pro, got a great attitude. He doesn't think the world owes him a living. He's just a good, honest professional. And it rubbed off on a lot of younger players. They didn't have that leadership before.
It's a really exciting time for Newcastle, for the town and the club. Everyone wants to be part of the success, but for some that's a bittersweet experience. I'm talking about the substitutes. I'm in the dugout just now, and this is where they usually spend the whole match. Brian, now in his 30s, is old for a footballer. The best he can hope for at the moment is to be a substitute, and he doesn't like it.
I love playing football, and at the moment I'm spending the majority of the year, well, it's been the last year and a half, sitting on the bench waiting to play football. And professional footballers get a buzz from playing first team football for their club, And at the moment, I'm spending the majority of the time playing in the reserves, which is hard.
It's hard too for his partner Lynn. Brian's next contract will be his last, and she's worried about the future.
If you're 35 years of age, I don't care how much money you've made, you've got another 35 years of your life to contend with, and you've got to have an interest.
But Brian just wants to play football, which means an unsettled home life. The couple have their cottage, a flat near Newcastle, and now they've heard Swindon want him. To get off the subs bench, Brian's ready to move.
Footballers are like gypsies. There are some players that are lucky enough to get to clubs and stay there for long periods of time. But in my latter years playing football, I've had to go around to about 3 or 4 different clubs.
But that moment hasn't arrived yet. Brian has accepted Swindon's offer. Although Newcastle are doing well and Swindon are struggling, Brian just couldn't bear the thought of the rest of the season sitting on the subs bench.
You work all week towards a goal, and that goal's 90 minutes on a Saturday afternoon. The new job I've got now, the new club, allows me to be able to do that. I've left a great club and a great bunch of lads. I think they'll go far. It's a very young side. They're all prepared to learn and help each other. And you know, if any young footballer wanted to watch and learn anything, just watch and learn how the Newcastle United Football Club go about doing what they're doing.
At the club, life goes on. Brian's photograph was moved from reception. His picture will be replaced by Newcastle's latest signing, 26-year-old Will Fox. He's about to find out what it's like to be a journeyman footballer.
I'm gonna leave this place tomorrow. I'm gonna leave this town behind. I'll be gone before the morning. I'll be out of sight and out of mind. That's why I'm moving on. I'm moving on. Said I've been hanging around too long. It's time I was moving on. Get out of here.
You know, they say football is a game of 2 halves, and I've discovered that's true. One half is a player, and very often the other half is a woman who plans and organises the footballer's life. She's the power behind the glory. There's just one problem, though. Lynn's other half hasn't had much glory recently. He can't get in the team, and she's worried.
I think one of the saddest things I saw was a player who had just finished with Coventry, and you could see that he didn't know what to do. It was very sad.
For Brian, that sad moment has been postponed. He's got a new job as centre-half at Swindon Town Football Club. He's delighted.
Me and Lynn treat life as an adventure. Well, that's how I like to treat it. I don't know if Lynn will answer it that way, but I like to treat life as an adventure.
But it's easy to be adventurous when the humdrum things of life are sorted for you.
He's never packed, unpacked, moved, so he finds it incredibly easy. I mean, that's just the physical upheaval. With work, I've been fantastically fortunate overnight with the people that I work for who've bent over backwards to transfer me with every transfer that Brian has had.
And double time! Push!
Lynn has bent over backwards herself to stay in work. She runs an aerobics class in the Midlands, a product of Brian's time at Coventry, and she has a job in Liverpool, again because of one of Brian's moves.
If we wanted to stay together, then I had to sacrifice things, and we did discuss it. I mean, I said to Brian, if I give up this and this and this, it's because we're to be together, but we have to have an agreement here. This isn't one-sided.
The relationship works. The couple have been together 12 years.
Every day is different. Every day I'm going somewhere else. It's maybe work, to the class, different directions, and of course it was north with Newcastle, and now it'll be south to Swindon. So it depends. Oh, Monday it must be Liverpool, or Tuesday it must be Lincolnshire. Different all the time.
And on a Saturday, it's meant Newcastle. And even then, Brian can't seem to do without Lynn.
He's just come out and he said, "Can you get me a hairband?" Of course he didn't think of me playing, and we have to have this black thing. So he just...
Brian's not the only big kid around. Other players' wives have their own children to worry about, though. They're housed in the club's creche on match day, where the talk revolves around the moves and the men in their life.
You tend to let your husband do his own thing.
Stay out
of the
game.
Yeah, stay out of the way.
The biggest thing for us is like we had to move like with football, we've had to move from the south, obviously, from the accent, up to here. So that was like our biggest thing. But then you adjust and you enjoy it. You have to make the most of it and you enjoy it.
You settled here quite well
Yeah,
then.
yeah, we've been here a year. And like for me, it was the biggest thing ever, moving away from all my family and friends. But we've settled really well.
You really do want them to win. I mean, I've been here when they were fighting relegation. That is just the biggest nerve-wracker.
The nerves come from the uncertainty of football. That uncertainty convinced Lynn that the latest transfer or not, the couple wouldn't move house.
Too much work's gone into the house to leave it, really. I don't know. I don't think it's probably home forever. But I think until Brian finishes playing football, then it's going to be the base. It's the thing that keeps your head together. It's something to come home for, to get your teeth stuck into. Otherwise, what do you do?
Lynn doesn't like constantly commuting, but like many football wives, she's prepared to do it. In her case, for the love of Brian. At Newcastle, if you can't get a ticket to the match, you can watch the Toon training. That can mean problems.
Brian Kilcline chopped down 4 kids the other day because he made a slide tackle. And they stood right on the line of the 5-a-side pitch and they went down like dominoes. And my first reaction, crikey, they broke their legs. But they got up, brushed themselves down and were thrilled to bits that Brian Kilcline had kicked them. I mean, you're talking about a different breed up here. They're not idiots and they're not mad. They're just fanatical.
But that fanaticism creates pressure. Find out what it's like to be the manager on The Club next week.
When things are going really well and the crowd are with you, it must be a fantastic experience being a footballer. But when things aren't going so well, who do you turn to? I mean, you need a mother, a father, a friend, maybe even a psychiatrist. You just need someone you can talk to. Maybe that's a manager.
The manager of Newcastle has to look after the players, but he has another job, keeping these fans happy. He knows what they want. Kevin Keegan played for the club in the 80s. He was nearing the end of a glorious career. For Keegan, the whole northeastern experience was emotional.
My father was a Geordie, born in Hetton. His father went to Eppleton Colliery, and before that was rescued from the 1909 Stanley Pit disaster. One of the 36 survivors. I think nearly 150 died in that. It was the biggest pit disaster of its time. So I'm back to my roots, really.
Football is an ongoing drama. Keegan's exit was dazzling. A helicopter lifted him high above the city for everyone to see. His return was just as dramatic. He'd had 7 years in Spain when the club brought him home. They'd fallen on hard times and he was to be their saviour. The decision to return was easy. He was in love with the fans.
For football, there's something here that you can't create in many places in the world. There's a passion and an understanding of football. And life revolves a little bit more around a football club here than it does even in Liverpool and places like that, which would astound people because it obviously means a lot there.
The saviour tempted top players to Newcastle. Peter Beardsley had played alongside the manager once before.
It was quite exciting then because we had the boss players. But now since he's gone on the other side, it's incredible. The place has just really took off in the 6 years that I was away.
So you think that's made all the difference, having Kevin Keegan there?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, obviously we've had other managers since, but he is incredible. I mean, everybody in the world knows Kevin Keegan, and it's great for everybody on Tyneside that he's here.
The manager is no soft touch, and the diplomatic skills needed to keep players happy were sadly lacking when a young Geordie boy called Clarke reacted petulantly to being substituted. The boss threatened to sell him. The hard-line approach doesn't always go down well, and the manager did mellow in the middle of the season. He was learning a little bit about being a sort of social worker.
They'll have the little tantrums. They're human beings. They'll have the off days when they come in and they think the world's against them. They'll have a go at the manager because to release the if you like, the pressures. That's our job.
It was to be a big night for the manager. Newcastle's league form hasn't been good recently. The success or failure of the whole season depended on them beating, of all teams, Luton Town in the Cup. The evening started badly. Luton took the lead. Half-time and Newcastle were still losing against a team they should have beaten.
Well, he'll want to put that right. He'll tell them to keep on playing, but he knows as well as anybody that they'll not want to be losing in the cup, and particularly to a side from a lower division. I think he'll be just edging them on that little bit more and saying, look, if you want to go to Wembley, you've got to stay in the cup. 45 minutes to put it right.
We're winning 1-0, playing brilliantly. Lots of young kids playing out of their skins. The trouble is, I'm as tense as anyone can be. My hands are awash, panicking, but we could do it.
The end of the game, and the social worker, father figure, player's friend and manager couldn't stop. He had to face the music from the interviewers. The Geordies, young and old, had a long way to go. 7 hours before they'd be home. For the manager, time to lift the players for the next game.
It's going to test the character. It's going to test, the coaching staff as well to lift them up. But we'll pull them through it because we got good players and we got good characters in the side.
Life goes on.
Of course. It's only a game.
But today is big match day. This is what it's all about, when we all come together to just enjoy the Newcastle United experience.
And it's not all glamorous. This is a post stick, and it's been wielded by Eleanor Sweeting, whose job it is to get the kit clean.
There's only one way to get them looking, is by tossing it out or using elbow grease.
Today's game is against Swindon. Though the club won't win a trophy this year, they're still pleased with the way things have gone.
All in all, I think we've had a tremendous season. We've still got a bit to do, but if we can get in Europe, it would be beyond everyone's belief, and I'm quietly confident we can do that.
Assessing the season too is our old friend Steve Howie. He's injured and needs an operation on his groin. It'll be the 4th in 2 years, and he's very worried.
So all you're doing is just getting that little bit of it.
Well, the worst that could happen, I mean, you sort of you tend to think after 4 operations in one particular spot, then you're looking to sort of people say you're just struggling to continue on as in full-time football. But I mean, you haven't got to let that enter your head at all. And I've been talking very closely with Derek Wright, the physiotherapist, and he doesn't think there's any problems really. So hopefully, if we get this one done and out the way, I can build myself up and be around to go for next season.
So Steve will be a spectator today, a day which would turn out well for the club. Both on and off the pitch, everything went just perfectly. Other spectators included Sharon Fletcher, the latest in a new breed of female bombshells helping to run football. Sharon, just how different is this from other jobs you've had?
It's totally different. It's so varied, it's unbelievable. 1 minute you're talking to a general fan on the phone. Next minute you're talking to Lou McCrory, Joe Jordan, Kenny Dalglish.
Do you think it's a man's world, Sharon?
No, it's changing now. It's changing slightly.
I'm at reception having a chat with Dee Wilson, who's one of the first faces you see when you come to Newcastle United. She's a very busy lady. She spends the whole time while the match is going on the phone. Dee, do you ever stop?
No, not usually. No, the phone doesn't usually stop ringing on a normal weekday. Inquiries just about anything and everything, really. Generally tickets.
But the one thing I must ask you before I go is, do you ever get to see the match?
Never, no, never ever yet have I seen a first team home match.
I can't believe
I
it.
hear it, I hear all the noise, all the excitement going on, but I never actually get to see a match, no.
She's not the only one who can't get in. These ticketless fans watched on a TV set in the car park, while across town, the Odeon has started screening the games live for the youngsters who also can't get in. It really is boom time for the club.
the atmosphere, everything about it. Like, everybody's just like happy.
Since I've been at school, the only thing I've wanted to do was play football. So it's always nice to realise your ambition.
You've got to be there to support your team.
You are a fan of your partner. You obviously support the club that they play for.
It's a lovely career whilst it lasts.
In football, things happen so quickly. 1 minute we're at Newcastle, and in the space of about a couple of hours we've moved on to Swindon.
Yeah, you travel the world, and wherever you go, there's a Geordie, and the first thing is, how's the team doing? They're not idiots, and they're not mad, they're just fanatical.